Hello, I'm Squattaloo. In a previous tutorial, I showed you how to get Mario Kart Wii up and running in Dolphin VR with full 6 degrees of freedom. In that video, I mentioned that the problem using the hide objects method as defined in the VHS Productions and Barefoot Gaming tutorials to get Mario Kart Wii up and running in 3 degrees of freedom VR limited you to using Mario, which wasn't really ideal. And I had mentioned that I had created a mod which simply sort of made Rosalina invisible so that you could play as Rosalina instead. This will be a tutorial to show how you can do that as well. I didn't really want to share the files for the Rosalina mod that I made because they were largely unedited except for one little flag, and I wasn't sure how big of a legal problem that would be with Nintendo for basically sharing unedited files from the game. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can do that for pretty well any character in the game. The things you're going to need are SZS Explorer, Brawl Box, and you're also probably going to want a non-VR version of Dolphin just because it's going to make your life much easier for testing. You're also going to want to get WIT, the Wii MMS ISO tools here. You will need this to recompile the modded folder of our Mario Kart Wii files back into an ISO. So what you are going to need to do is download either the 64 or 32-bit version or whatever version you have on your Windows install. Unzip it into a folder, run the installer, and then after it installs, you're going to want to copy the folder that it is in here, and you will want to modify system variables. Just type system variables in start menu, and it should take you right back to here. And then you're going to want to click on environment variables, and then you will want to go and go ahead and click on path, and click edit, and then you will want to paste that bin path in here so that it will be available in the command line. Alright, so one of the first things you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to take a copy of your ISO file or whatever file you have here, and you're going to want to go to File and open a PowerShell window, and you are going to want to extract the files from that ISO by typing in WIT and then extract, then the name of the ISO, and then /, and then nkv base files. And that will extract the files. This will sit here on this window appearing to not really do anything until it is done. Eventually you'll see another command line here appear when it is done processing those files. Alright, now if we go here, we should see our base files. Data is the one that basically contains the files for Mario Kart Wii. And then you are going to want to go into Files, then Race, and then Kart. And you're going to see a big long list here of different files, and it's not going to make an absolute ton of sense at first. Basically what you're seeing here is the file names have a certain structure to them, namely each vehicle, basically each character vehicle combination has their own file here, along with _2 and _4 variants, which are used for split screen multiplayer. We're not really going to worry about those today because I kind of figure if you're playing in VR that you're probably not going to be playing split screen multiplayer. But if you are, then you'll need to do a little bit of extra work here in a sec. But anyways, if you want a quick and handy way to figure out what file is what, I will add this link into the description, but this MarioKartWii.com website has basically every major file name in the game and what it corresponds to. For our purposes, I am going to extract Baby Luigi, just because I haven't really done this with a lightweight character yet, and I kind of want to see what they look like in VR. So any file name beginning with S is like a lightweight character, M is middleweight, L is heavyweight. But really what we're going to care about is getting all the Baby Luigi files, which you can see here, that means any file with -blg in there is Baby Luigi. So basically what we are going to do first is back in our base tutorial folder here, I'm going to make a new folder called custom characters. Actually, I'm going to remove the space just because that's going to make my life easier. I am going to say Baby Luigi, and I'm going to make a folder called original, which is where I'm going to put the original base files. I'm also going to make a folder called invisible, and I'm going to copy this directory. And then I am going to go back to here. So we are in the base files. Again, the data files cart, race cart, and you can manually look through here and look for your character if you are not comfortable using the command line, but I would recommend just clicking file up here and saying open Windows PowerShell. And you can just say cp, which is copy, dot, slash, which means anything in this folder, star, dash, I've already forgotten what the code was. What was it? ELG, and then another star. And then I will go ahead and in quotations put the directory of our original files. Basically, this is saying copy everything in the current directory that contains the phrase -blg, which should be Baby Luigi files. And go ahead and copy that. And I'm also just going to do it for the invisible one. That way we have the base files. You're definitely going to want to have the base files separate, because when you go to modify the game, if you need to make Baby Luigi visible again, you can just go ahead and do that pretty easily by just going into a certain directory. Alright, so if we go over, we'll not touch the original for now. If we go into invisible, we will see all of the Baby Luigi SZS files. So if we double click on that, I have it tied to open in SZS Explorer. And here you see the files for Baby Luigi. We're not going to touch the cart model, but we care about the driver model. So go ahead and right click that, and we are going to export it. And I am going to go to that folder. Sure, I'll just go into invisible. And we'll export driver model. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and leave SZS Explorer open because we'll need that in a bit. But in Brawl Box here, we're going to want to open that driver model that we just created. Tutorial, custom characters, Baby Luigi, visible, driver model. So now we're editing the actual Baby Luigi model. So if we go ahead and click on model, there he is, and the low level detail one from the distance. We're not going to care about the low level of detail model because when we are the character, we're not really ever going to see the low level of detail model because they're never going to be far enough away from the camera. So we're not going to touch that one, but we're going to care about model here. And the only thing we are going to do is we are going to open this up, and we're going to go to materials. And then for both of these, we are going to go to where it says col mode, and where it says col_inside. That is telling the game to only render the outside of the model wherever this texture is applied. So basically, if we were inside Baby Luigi's head, you would be able to only see the parts from the outside. But we don't want to see them at all, so we are going to change that to col all. And then we will do the same for the eye texture, and then we will save that. Okay. And I forgot to say, once we're done editing the material for these, you should note that when you click on model now, you see nothing here. Basically, that is technically a preview of our model. It is no longer visible. So that is exactly what we want. So we've already gone ahead and saved that. And now we will go back to our SCS Explorer, click on this dot again, right-click on driver model and say replace. And we will replace it with our invisible model, and we will save that. And now we basically just have to do that for all of these files. As I said, I will actually be skipping the _2 and _4 because those are for split-screen multiplayer, and I'm not going to be playing split-screen multiplayer. In fact, I will probably remove those here off camera. But yeah, it's just a matter of going through and replacing every file. So like go in here, replace with our driver model, save that one for every single one of these that is not _2. Now, one thing also to note is for the baby characters, or for most of the characters in the game, I should say, the driver model is the same between carts and bikes, as far as I'm aware. The big exception is, of course, Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina, who have separate models for those characters, whether they are on bikes and carts. Basically, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if you need to do that as separate steps, but I did just to be safe. Basically, you're going to need to do what we did for the driver model up there, but rather than just using the same model here for all the carts and all the bikes, you'll want to do that step twice. One for the bike model, one for the cart model, and then when you're going through and replacing these, just make sure you replace the cart ones with the cart and the bike ones with the bike. Alright then, we have gone ahead and replaced all of the single player models in this invisible folder. So now, as long as you still have the original files backed up here, you can go ahead and copy all of these files into the actual game files folder that we created earlier with the cart folder. Replace all the files in that destination, and that should work. So now we are just going to go ahead and go into Dolphin here. Now, you can recompile basically the folders that we created to create another ISO and run that if you wanted to, but the much easier way to do it is to just go ahead and click. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and add it as a path, because that's going to be the easiest way we can always see it. Let's go to config, paths, add, and I will add the Mario Kart Wii base files here. And actually, we're going to want to go into data, and then sys, and add that folder. So the actual file in there that we are working with, just so you're aware, is the data sys this main.dol, or dol, I should say. That is the file that Dolphin is actually looking for. I just went ahead and added that path to Dolphin instead of just manually opening that file, so that it would appear in this quick link on here. And so, as you see here, this is our edited one because that's our file path. So let's just go ahead and launch it. As I said earlier, I'm actually just launching this in normal Dolphin because really this is just how you mod the game anyway. regardless of the whole VR setup. So let's just open it up. Go into single player, load up a level with Baby Luigi. One thing to note is with the way we did this, Baby Luigi is actually still going to be visible on this screen, as are all the carts. But once we get into the actual race, he should be good and gone. And there you can see that there you can't see Baby Luigi, which was our actual goal. So now, it looks a little dumb in normal Dolphin, because now we're basically just a self-driving cart. But yeah, so that is how you make any character invisible. I'll hop into VR here in a little bit, so you can see what it looks like in there. But rather than doing the whole race there, let's just go ahead and check one of the other vehicles real quick. I'm obviously not going to check all of them right now, just because that's kind of overkill for this tutorial. Sure, let's look at the whacker. Slow time trial. And once again, looks like we've done it correctly. There's no Baby Luigi there. So that means we'll be able to hop into the whacker here in a little bit in VR. Okay, so before we have to run this in Dolphin VR, you may have heard me say that we weren't going to need to recompile the ISO or anything. Earlier in the tutorial, I was actually, if I haven't edited that out at least, I was actually wrong. It seems because Dolphin VR was based on an older version of Dolphin, it is not able to just run that .dol file that we used in normal Dolphin. I still feel that that step was important enough to leave in this tutorial because it makes your life way easier for testing modded files so that you don't have to recompile the ISO every time you make a change. But if you want to actually get it running in VR, you will have to recompile that ISO. So to do that, you just say wit copy, or I should say first you go to the directory that contains like the original ISO and then the directory above from the base files of the game that we extracted earlier, and then say copy./mk read base files, and then we give it a new name, vr.iso, and that will recompile our ISO. You will know when it's done when this command line prompt switches back to letting us type in another command, and we'll also see this temp file switch from being a temp file to an actual ISO file. Okay, so now in Dolphin VR, we will go ahead and open that file we just made. And I will see you in VR. So here we finally are back in Dolphin VR. I apologize, I was having some issues getting Oculus Mirror running smoothly with this right now. I'm not really sure why. So you're going to have to settle on the native Dolphin VR output, which shows both lenses at once. But yeah, let's go ahead and load up the whacker and hop in there and see if our changes applied. I'm recording this after the fact, so I already know the answer to that, but let's just see. And sure enough, there it is, the whacker with no driver. So now we begin the slow crawl to get into our seat and get underway. So yeah, there you have it. Now you can go ahead and be Baby Luigi. So you're not just limited to Mario. The downside, for some people, I would guess they would say this, it's a little harder to tell the height you're supposed to have on the seat because you don't have like Mario's body there to guide you the way you do the other way. but I think it makes the game a lot more playable. There, you can kind of see I couldn't tell what height to use because my head immediately went inside the duck head when we wheelied, but while you can't see the character's body, so you have a harder time at telling exactly the height you're supposed to use, I like this better just because the character's body doesn't really get in the way at various points in the track, or when you're like using items or anything. And the character's body really didn't even follow your head anyway, so it wasn't like it was like immersive before. But yeah, so that's pretty well all there is to it. Okay, so the one big problem with this method is that the invisibility mod not only applies to yourself, but it also applies to any other time you see that model in the race, which means that really you're only going to want to have one character invisible at a time. Because let's say I made both Rosalina and Baby Luigi invisible. If I were playing as Baby Luigi and the computer picked Rosalina, I would basically just see a self-driving car with a Luma flying around it in the race, because Rosalina would still be invisible until she got into the lower quality model and then get into the distance. So in order to swap them out, you are going to have to go into here. Let's grab the original Baby Luigi files, which should be unedited. Go ahead and copy them all and paste them into our files again. So that should make Baby Luigi visible again. And then I'll take the invisible Rosalina files I got earlier, copy those in. So now Rosalina should be invisible. So if I were to, in regular Dolphin here, go ahead and just load up the game. And this is really why you want regular Dolphin on hand and using that .dol file, because you can just hot swap items. And you don't have to recompile to test it, but you will have to recompile it in order for it to be visible in VR. So let's just...
Let's go.
Rosalina should be visible when we get into a race. And hopefully Baby Luigi will also be in this race, so we can kill two birds with one stone. And check them both. So there, Rosalina's invisible. Don't think I see Baby Luigi anywhere in this race. Nope. Of course not. So let's just quickly hop over to a race with Baby Luigi. Make sure he's visible again. And there's Baby Luigi. So it looks like all of our changes were successful. This kind of illustrates the problem I was talking about earlier, though, because Rosalina is in this race, and there's just an invisible bike driving around. If I let her get into the distance there, you can kind of see she just popped up. So that's kind of why you only want one of these visible at once, just because it'll look really, really dumb if you don't. Unless you really want to play like the Tesla Elon Musk version of this, where it's all just self-driving vehicles. But yeah, so that should take care of it. Anyways, as I said earlier, now that we have verified that it works in regular Dolphin in order to experience it in VR, we will have to go in and replace the ISO from earlier. You could just go ahead and delete it and then rerun the copy, and that should work. The good thing is Dolphin basically uses the same save file across all of the versions of Mario Kart Wii here. So if you have unlocked everything in one version, like, even though I unlocked everything in the regular version, of the game. The modded version, even though I am opening a separate ISO, it will pull in that save file from the regular version, so you don't have to re-unlock anything or enter a separate code or do any separate settings there. But anyway, you just open this up and then Rosalina would be the one that's invisible. So that is pretty well all there is to it. Thank you very much for watching. I apologize if it got a little confusing due to my misunderstanding of the Dolphin VR not being able to load the .dol file, so I may have said some weird things here and there that were edited out in post. But hopefully it all made sense. Thank you very much for watching, and get racing or something. I don't freaking know.